Hi, I'm Reese Marlowe, and I wasn't supposed to show up at my sister's gala, not because I wasn't invited. I was. Technically. A forwarded Evite link. No message, no context, not even a, hey, hope you're well. Just a link. And something about that felt intentional. But still, I went. Because after 3 years of silence, of unanswered texts and holidays spent folding laundry alone in a studio apartment where the walls shook every time the train passed, I wanted to see if anything had changed. Maybe I was still naive like that. I took the subway, then walked the rest of the way in heels that didn't quite fit anymore. The lobby smelled like white florals and money, the kind of clean that's curated, the kind of elegance that feels sterile if you're not used to it. Ava always wanted a party like this, and now she had one. A milestone celebration for hitting her first seven-figure fiscal year. That's what the custom signage said in cursive gold letters at the entrance. Ava Marlowe presents Building a Legacy. It made me smile, honestly. She always had a way of rebranding arrogance as aspiration. I walked through the rotating glass doors, straightened my coat, and tried not to look like someone who hadn't been inside a five-star hotel in years. The check-in table was a marble monolith guarded by two girls in matching blazers and ponytails, so tight they looked like they hadn't blinked since lunch. Name? One asked. Reese Marlowe. Pause. Typing. Her eyebrows barely moved. Then, oh, you're not on the preferred guest list. I'll have to check the secondary list. Secondary hit different. It's fine, I said, scanning the room. My sister's the host. She looked up, blinked. You're Ava's sister? Before I could answer, I heard it. Wait, Reese? I turned. Ava stood 20 feet away in a gold gown that shimmered like envy under the chandelier. She was holding a flute of champagne, mid-conversation, when she saw me. She actually laughed. Loud. Oh my God, you came? People turned. She started walking toward me, heels sharp against polished tile, the kind of click that announces a person long before their words do. I mean, wow. Wow. You look casual. I glanced down. Black slacks, cream blouse, camel coat. It wasn't designer, but it was clean. Hi, Ava. Hi, she echoed, drawing it out like a taunt. I just didn't think you'd actually come. You usually skip family things, right? Not true. I was usually uninvited from family things. Thought I'd show up. It's a big night. She tilted her head. That's sweet. Really. But you know this is sort of curated, right? Like brand partners, investors, press? Sure. So it's not casual friendly? She smiled, but her eyes didn't. Just didn't want you to feel out of place. That was her gift, weaponizing politeness. I'll manage. She sipped her champagne and glanced at the check-in girl. Did you get her a wristband? She's not on the preferred. That's fine, Ava cut in. It's just, Reese hasn't really been in the picture. People might not recognize her. Another smile. Wider this time, the kind that said, you can stand here, but you don't belong. But family's family, right? She added. That was it. The line, the Geo Nuoc Tranley, because I remembered what she said in a voicemail she didn't know I'd heard. Back in October, my birthday. Aunt Diana had asked about me at brunch. I wasn't invited, of course, but someone had left their phone recording on the table. Reese? Ava had laughed. She's doing her thing, probably still couch hopping or whatever. Not really the kind of vibe we're going for anymore. Not the kind of vibe. That stuck. So I stood there, in the marble lobby of the hotel where she mocked me for being invisible, and smiled, because she didn't know. She didn't know that I had bought the hotel, not just the room, not just a share, not through Ava's world of trust funds and curated equity. No, I worked here, for years, starting in housekeeping, then night manager. I learned systems, took classes at night, sat in on board meetings, pitched strategies, secured silent capital, and took over when the founder retired, quietly, thoroughly, legally. And this party, was booked through the events and catering branch. She had no idea whose name was on the paperwork. She rented the ballroom I owned and called me homeless. I'll be around, I told her. If anyone's confused, I'll let them know who I am. Ava laughed again, already turning. Don't be weird, Reese. Wouldn't dream of it. As I stepped past the velvet rope, The wristband girl half raised a hand, but the front desk manager, Robert, appeared just in time. He gave me a nod, slipped me a sleek black envelope, whispered, "Rooftop suite is ready. Welcome back, Miss Marlowe." Ava didn't hear it. She was too busy posing near the ice sculpture, rehearsing Legacy. I walked toward the elevator, pressed 25, and smiled as the doors closed. Ever been underestimated by someone who didn't know you held the upper hand? The elevator let me off on the 25th floor with a soft chime and a view most people only saw in anniversary reels or engagement shoots. Manhattan glittered beneath me, all steel and ambition. The kind of city Ava claimed to belong to, loudly, repeatedly, while I built myself into it brick by quiet brick. I didn't go to the suite right away. Instead, I walked down the hall, heels muted on thick carpet, and turned into the back corridor. Employee access. It was narrower, lit by harsh fluorescence, and smelled like lemon cleaner and too many late shifts. It used to be my world. I knew which doors creaked, which cameras had blind spots, which supervisors cut corners. I built that knowledge when no one was watching, while Ava was sipping cocktails with VCs and claiming she was self-made. I reached the staff-only elevator and took it down to level B2, administration, the hotel's engine room, where the real things happened. Robert was waiting by the finance office, holding a manila folder like a soldier with orders. "We pulled the vendor contracts," he said, low voice, eyes scanning for staff. "The invoice on her event? She's leveraged on 3 different cards. Half the deposit was wire transfer from an account that flagged twice last year. How much outstanding? 22,400 and some change. Due? Tonight, technically. But she requested an extension, pitched it as a PR partnership, said it would be mutually beneficial visibility." I smiled, because that's exactly the kind of phrase Ava used when she was bluffing. "Tell legal to send a payment reminder. No extensions. Charge the late fee." Robert hesitated. "She's going to lose it." "Then let her." He gave a nod and left. I stepped into the finance room alone, shut the door, exhaled. The walls were lined with locked cabinets and whiteboards scribbled with upcoming events. I used to sort linen inventory in this room, and now I was auditing a $150K party that insulted me at the front door. I pulled out her guest list, curated within an inch of its life. Influencers, venture partners, people with blue checks and questionable ethics. Ava loved a crowd that photographed well, but thought little. I flipped through the list until I saw a name that made me pause. Harrison Vale, venture capitalist, heavy hitter. Ava's rumored funding source for her new Femtech app, a glorified mood tracker with trendy branding and zero infrastructure. I opened the hotel's internal contact log. Harrison had booked a 2-night suite, private concierge, under Ava's referral, meaning she promised him an experience, which meant I could shape it. I clicked the intercom. "Front desk, elevate Mr. Vale's service request to VIP tier. Assign Marisol to him directly. Tell her to watch, quietly, and take notes." The best revenge is never rage. It's information. And Ava had built her career like a house of cards, shiny, fragile, and one bad breeze from collapse. But I wasn't there to destroy her. Not yet. I just wanted her to see what it felt like, to be measured, recorded, weighed, to be looked at, not adored. A few hours later, the ballroom buzzed. From the rooftop suite, I watched it all on the internal monitor. Camera feeds used for security and event logistics. Not intrusive, just standard. Ava had agreed to it all in the event contract, buried in the fine print she never read. She stood on a raised stage, holding a mic, flanked by 2 LED screens looping clips from her social campaigns. Her voice, piped through the speaker system, echoed faintly. "This year has been transformative. I built something from the ground up, despite the noise, despite the doubts." I muted it, because I knew what she was really saying. "Look how far I've come. Look how far behind she still is." I didn't expect the knock. Room service wasn't scheduled. Security always called first. So when I opened the door and saw my mother, I didn't move. She held a clutch, no coat, shoes too high for walking any distance. "You're staying here?" she asked. "Apparently." She stepped in without asking. The suite was expansive. White marble, clean lines, understated opulence. A place built to impress the rich, not comfort the real. She sat on the edge of the velvet ottoman like it was too soft to trust. Ava said you showed up uninvited. I didn't answer. She's under a lot of pressure, Reese. You have no idea how hard she works. The gala is important. I folded my arms. You know this is my hotel. What? I own it. Silence. She stared like I'd just confessed to a crime, like I'd stolen something that wasn't meant to be mine. No, you don't. Don't be dramatic. The deed is in my name. You want to see it? She stood abruptly. You're being cruel. This was supposed to be Ava's night. That broke something in me, because it was always Ava's night. Her year, her win, her story. I was the supporting act in someone else's show. You raised one daughter with money, I said, and one with shame. Guess which one built something? She didn't reply. She left. But not before I saw it. The flicker of something in her eyes that looked suspiciously like fear. Later that night, I got a call. Marisol. You told me to watch Harrison Vale. And? He's not into Ava. He's polite, but cold. Checked his phone the whole time she pitched. Said he already saw the prototype, and it was underwhelming at best. Anything else? He asked about the hotel. Said he liked how it was run. I smiled. Set him a breakfast meeting. I'll take it personally. Ever seen someone try to fake power in a place you already run? Just asking. By morning, the hotel was quieter, but not silent. Nothing is ever truly still in a place like this. Even at 6 a.m., there's a hum beneath everything. Luggage wheels skimming tile, espresso machines grinding, staff whispering behind service doors like secrets held too long. I didn't sleep. I spent most of the night reading every single clause in Ava's event contract, every paragraph, every contingency. You'd be surprised how many things people agree to when they assume they'll never be held accountable. There's a clause about brand behavior, about abusive treatment of staff, about disparaging public remarks made on premises. There's even one about payment failures leading to immediate reclassification of reservation status. It wasn't written for Ava, but it fit her like a tailored dress. Still, I waited. Revenge, when done right, isn't about speed. It's about weight. Letting people walk into rooms they don't know they're not welcome in anymore. I called Marisol. Did he say anything else? He asked about the artwork in the hall, she said. Said it was curated with restraint. Then he asked if Ava helped pick it. And? I told him it was selected by ownership. And? She paused. I could hear her smirking. He smiled for the first time all night. At noon, I walked into the hotel cafe and found Aunt Diana sipping tea with the same grace she always carried, like she was born in a movie set during autumn. You've been busy? She said, looking over her glasses. News travels fast. Your mother called, said you were acting out. Of course she did. She also said you humiliated Ava at her own event. I sat across from her. The server placed a cappuccino in front of me without needing to ask. I'd built habits here, ones they never noticed until they got in the way. I didn't humiliate Ava, I said. She did that all on her own. I just didn't cover for her this time. Diana sipped, looked at me carefully. You know what bothers her the most? What? That you never needed her to lose in order for you to win. That landed, because it was true. I didn't want Ava to fail. I just wanted to stop failing in silence while she thrived in spotlight. She told people I was homeless, I said. She laughed when I walked into my own lobby, and now she's asking for grace because the story she wrote is turning on her. Diana set her cup down. Reese, you are not required to hold someone's dignity when they drop yours. By 3 p.m., the email went out. From legal to Ava, subject line, final notice, payment breach. I didn't write it, but I approved every word. It outlined the outstanding balance, the clause violations, the penalties for false representation. We didn't cancel her booking. That would be petty. We downgraded it. Her next event, an influencer brunch scheduled for Sunday, was now being reassigned to a smaller suite with no AV access, no brand wall, and no outside press allowed without corporate approval. She could still have her toast points and mimosa bar, just not the illusion of power. She called me at 4:12 p.m. You're insane. Hi, Ava. You think you're clever? You think this makes you strong? No, I said. This makes me accountable. something you've avoided for a while. I have investors coming, sponsors. Then I'd suggest paying your bills. Silence. You planned this, she hissed. You waited until I built something and then you built a party. I built a structure. You're pathetic. And you're on speakerphone. Her gasp hit harder than any insult. Excuse me? Legal's in the room. Robert, too. Every call on event contracts is recorded. You agreed to that. It's in the footer. Ava hung up. I didn't flinch, but I didn't feel good either. Not yet. Because when you grow up with a sibling like Ava, you're trained to flinch on their behalf, to anticipate their needs, to explain away their damage. And that kind of rewiring doesn't come undone with one contract enforcement. That night, I walked past the ballroom again. Empty now. Just the echo of last night's music and the ghost of her curated applause. A cleaning crew was wiping champagne from mirrored tables. Someone had left behind a gift bag with her name on it, gold-stamped, unopened. I picked it up. Inside was a thank you card. To those who believed in me when no one else did. Signed Ava. That was the irony. She never once asked who helped the hotel staff reset her lighting, or who adjusted the sound system when the mic failed, or who made sure the room didn't overheat when the fire code maxed out. She didn't notice the help, only the audience. The first thing I saw that morning was the notification, a private message, from someone I hadn't spoken to in almost 5 years. Jonas Calloway, Ava's ex, the one she never mentions, the one she used to blame for every rough patch in her personal brand. He'd sent 2 words. You free? It didn't feel casual. Jonas didn't do casual. He did strategy. That's why they worked. For a time. Until they didn't. Until he became a liability and Ava became someone who rewrote endings before the ink dried. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I walked downstairs and into the kitchen suite reserved for owners. No guests, no cameras, no performative small talk. Just real coffee. The kind without foam art or hashtags. I poured a cup and sat in the corner by the glass wall. The skyline outside was coated in a cold mist, like the city was trying to hide behind its own breath. Then my phone buzzed again. Same sender. This time with a file. I opened it. It was a video. Ava. In a hotel room. Not this hotel. A different one. Not scandalous. Not graphic. Just unfiltered. She was yelling at a staff member. Not critiquing. Not negotiating. Berating. I don't care if you're short-staffed. I paid for luxury, and you look like someone who just crawled out of a break room. Do you know who I am? It went on. 2 minutes, no edits, no music, no spin. The kind of thing that lives forever. And Jonas had it. We met an hour later in a lobby across town. Neutral ground. A quiet boutique hotel that catered to people who cared more about privacy than press. He looked exactly the same. Tall, understated. Wealth in his posture, not his wardrobe. Reese, he said, like he'd been practicing it. Jonas? We sat. Neither of us ordered anything. Why now? I asked. Because I watched your sister spit on a hotel employee on TikTok, and the internet thinks it's an actress doing a bit, but I recognized the way she moved, that thing she does with her hand when she's pretending to be reasonable. The flick. He smiled, surprised I knew. You kept it, I said, nodding at the video. I kept a lot of things, he replied, because I knew how that story would get told when it ended. And now? Now I'm tired of watching her rewrite everyone else's ending, including yours. There was a pause. I didn't trust him. But I understood him. Some people destroy quietly. Others get tired of pretending they didn't. Back at the hotel, I called Marisol. Send a message to the in-house PR team. I want a review of our internal crisis management protocols, staff training, incident documentation, everything. Should I ask why? Because I think we're about to find out who's loyal for the check and who's loyal to the culture. She didn't ask more. She knew the undercurrent. Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just writes the next policy. That night, Ava showed up unannounced. I was in the glass conference room on the mezzanine, reviewing floor plans for a new wellness suite. She walked in like she still owned the hallway, even after everything. You leaked it, she snapped. The footage. I know it was you. I didn't. Yet. You're bluffing. And you're projecting. You're pathetic, Reese. I'm employed. She flinched at that, Because Ava had always wrapped her relevance in career moves. She measured human worth by the sound of applause, and right now, hers was silent. "Jonas contacted me," she said. I looked up sharply. "He told me you're planning something. He's lying." I didn't say anything about Jonas. She paused. Ava never paused. "You're bluffing," she repeated, but quieter. I stood. "Ava," I said, walking to the window, "what do you think would happen if people saw the version of you that staff have seen for years? No edits, no filters, just the truth." "I'd sue." "You'd lose." Her face cracked for half a second. Just enough for me to see the person underneath. The girl who used to throw birthday parties where she gave herself the biggest slice of cake and dared anyone to say it out loud. I turned back to the window. "I haven't leaked anything, but I'm not protecting you either. Not anymore." Later that night, I called Jonas. "I'm not using the video," I said, "but I'm not deleting it either." "That's fair. Why'd you really send it to me?" He didn't answer right away. Then, "Because she didn't just treat me like a mistake. She treated you like a ghost." That hit deeper than I expected. Because that's what it was. The core of everything. Not rage, not revenge, erasure. She made me feel like I'd never existed. Like the years I'd worked, the nights I slept on floors, the steps I climbed, were just empty space to her. I wasn't trying to ruin her. I was trying to prove I was real. Ever had someone try to erase you with a smile? It's wild what silence can teach people. 2 days after Ava stormed out of my office, the hotel received an anonymous review on a niche hospitality blog. The post wasn't long, just a few paragraphs. Polished, restrained. But the details were unmistakable. It described a high-profile guest screaming at a line-level employee over a non-existent stain on a velvet chair. The employee had been visibly shaken. The guest had left no tip. And the entire altercation had taken place during a family-hosted branded event at a 5-star New York hotel. I didn't write it, neither did Jonas, but I had a feeling, so I picked up the phone. "Diana," I said when she answered, "did you write something online?" A pause, then, "I didn't sign it, if that's what you mean." "You posted about Ava?" "I didn't use her name, just the truth. I'm tired, Reese. Tired of watching everyone pretend." Aunt Diana had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who brought thoughtful gifts and stayed until the dishes were done. But she'd never spoken up. Not when Ava humiliated me at birthdays. Not when I was left off group trips. Not even when I moved out and no one asked where. But this time, she'd picked a side, not loudly, not with fireworks, but in print, on record. She'd made it real. That mattered more than I expected. Later that afternoon, Ava showed up again. But she didn't come alone. She brought our mother. They waited in the guest lounge, a space I rarely entered anymore, designed for comfort, but used mostly for passive-aggressive meetings and last-minute damage control. I stepped in, and the air dropped 10 degrees. Ava was pacing, arms crossed, nails bitten raw. Our mother sat stiffly, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "We want to fix this," she began. "Define this," I said, arms folded. "The story going around, the blog post, Jonas, the misinterpretation." "It wasn't a misinterpretation, it was a description." Ava scoffed. "You think you're so righteous now? You want applause for being the quiet one all these years?" "No," I said, "I want accountability." "You were always the dramatic one," our mother cut in suddenly. "You held grudges. You refused to be grateful for what we could give." That hit harder than expected, not because it was new, but because she still believed it. "What you gave," I repeated, "like the guest room at holidays, or the mug with world's okayest sister at Christmas, while Ava got diamond earrings and an internship through your bridge club? You're exaggerating. You're gaslighting." The word landed like a slap. Ava's eyes widened. Our mother stood. "If this is who you've become, cold, vindictive, then I don't know how we fix anything." "You don't," I said quietly, "because you're still trying to fix the story, not the damage." After they left, I walked down to HR. "I want to formally review Ava's event conduct file," I told the manager. "If there were complaints, verbal or written, I want them documented and sealed." "Sealed?" "Yes, but kept, no deletion." He nodded slowly. "Understood. Something tells me this won't be the last request." That night, Jonas sent me another message, just a quote. Silence in the face of cruelty is not neutrality, it's complicity. No signature, no context. He didn't need one. Ever been blamed for the fire just because you refused to keep sweeping up the ashes? The press release went out just after 9 a.m., subtle, polished, professional. We take pride in cultivating an environment of respect, professionalism, and accountability. Our team is our foundation, and we stand with them always. No names were used, no direct references. Just a photo of our head concierge, a longtime employee named Celeste, smiling next to a staff appreciation plaque. But the message was unmistakable, especially for the people who had been paying attention. I didn't draft it, I just approved it, along with the quiet decision to promote Celeste and offer complimentary wellness coverage for all front-facing staff. Ava's gala funds, they were reallocated, legally, elegantly, but that wasn't the news that hit first. The real explosion came 2 hours later, when a podcast episode dropped. It was an interview on a popular workplace culture show. And the guest? Marisol. Not by name, she used a pseudonym. But the host was smart, and the questions were specific. Have you ever worked for someone who only treated you well when people were watching? Yes, Marisol replied. And the worst part isn't the mistreatment. It's the silence around it. The way people applaud their stage presence, not knowing the script is covering bruises. The episode didn't name Ava or the hotel, but the pieces were all there. The timeline, the behavior, the way Reese, the quiet woman in charge, was starting to shift things just by showing up. By noon, the episode was trending in career and women in leadership categories. And Ava? Ava was crumbling. She showed up again that afternoon, this time dressed down, but with the same sharpness in her eyes. You think this is funny? She hissed, pacing the hallway outside the boardroom. You think this is a joke? What are you talking about? I asked, calm as ever. The podcast, the press, the anonymous staff appreciation. You're playing dirty. No, I said. I'm playing quiet. You're just loud enough for the silence to catch up. She stepped closer. I will sue you. For what? I tilted my head. Giving my employees health insurance? Highlighting a woman who's worked here longer than you've stayed employed anywhere? You set me up. You showed up. I just stopped moving out of your way. She paused, because that's what landed. The truth wasn't that she was being ruined. The truth was that she was being seen. The hotel's email inbox flooded with notes from former employees, clients, and press contacts. Some were supportive, some curious, but the message was consistent. Finally, someone said it. That night, Harrison Vale, Ava's former investor, the one who never bid on her pitch, requested a private dinner. Not with her, with me. He chose the rooftop restaurant. Casual but elegant. The kind of place people go when they want to be overheard without seeming intentional. I arrived on time. He was already seated. Reese, he greeted. Glad you came. You made it sound urgent. It is. He leaned forward. I've been watching this unfold. You haven't said much publicly, but the way you move? Calculated, precise. It's refreshing. I don't weaponize PR. Exactly, that's why I'm here. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents, outline plans, investment offers, a strategic partnership proposal for expanding the hotel's brand into boutique hospitality retreats across the East Coast. I want to build with someone who knows how to run things quietly but completely. I stared at the folder, then at him. Why now? Because the market doesn't need more Avas. It needs more of you. Later, I sat on the balcony outside my suite, not to savor the view, but to let it settle. I hadn't set out to become a public figure. I didn't want viral moments or applause for doing what should have always been done, protecting people who made the system run. But somehow, I had become an example. Not because I shouted, but because I didn't. And sometimes that's louder than a scream. There wasn't a press conference. No viral moment. No neatly packaged ending with trending hashtags or brand redemption. Just a quiet Monday morning. And a signature. Mine. Across the bottom of a contract that finalized the launch of our second property, an oceanside retreat in Montauk. Boutique, intimate, wellness forward. The kind of place I would have never dared to step foot in 5 years ago, let alone build. The deal was done in the same boardroom where Ava once called me excess baggage. Now my name was on every letterhead. I walked out of the room and into the hallway where Robert waited, tablet in hand, ready to move on to the next item. "Any preferences on the design team?" he asked. "Send me options," I said, "but make sure they understand we don't build from ego. We build from experience." He smiled. "Already filtered them." I was about to walk away when he added, "By the way, your sister sent another email. Wants to schedule a meeting. Said it's about healing." I paused, not because I was tempted, but because it felt familiar. Ava always tried to rename things when the narrative didn't fit. Conflict became miscommunication. Consequences became cancellation. And now, this? This was just a rebrand of guilt. "Decline?" I said. "No reply needed." "Understood." That afternoon I moved into a new office. Not just bigger, not flashier, but higher. Top floor, private deck. Full window wall that looked out over the skyline like a reminder of how far silence can carry you when it's filled with purpose. There was no plaque, no ribbon cutting. Just me and a set of keys. I walked in, set down my bag, touched the desk. Oak, clean lines, minimal. Like I liked it. Then I opened the drawer. Inside was a photo. I don't know who put it there. It was from years ago. Me, in housekeeping uniform holding a clipboard, hair in a messy bun, laughing with Celeste. One of those candid, forgotten photos that someone in maintenance must have printed as a quiet nod. There was a post-it stuck to the bottom. "You never had to be louder, just had to stay." I looked out the window. And for once, I didn't think about who wasn't proud of me. I didn't think about the rooms I'd been asked to leave, or the people who used my silence as evidence I had nothing to say. I thought about the ones who had stayed anyway, the ones who noticed, who whispered their support in hallways, who stepped forward when it counted. And most of all, I thought about who I'd become, not in spite of what they said, but because I stopped trying to make them say anything at all. The door clicked softly behind me. Marisol walked in, holding a clipboard, already at ease in the space. "Everything good up here?" "Perfect," I said. She grinned. "I still can't believe Ava asked if you'd give her a job." I raised an eyebrow. "She didn't. She will," she said, matter of fact. "Give it a month." I laughed. Genuinely this time. "Well," I said, "we're full. Especially in PR." Later that week, Celeste hosted a staff appreciation lunch. Nothing fancy. Sandwiches, sparkling water, a cake someone baked at home. I sat in the corner, just observing, watching the people who ran this place better than any press release ever could. Ava didn't show. Neither did my mother. I didn't expect them to. I didn't want them to. That night I stood alone on the rooftop balcony. Same city, same skyline, different angle. I thought about every night I'd walked past luxury windows wondering what it felt like to belong inside. Now I knew. It didn't feel like money, or applause, or recognition. It felt like peace. Like not needing to explain who you are, because you've already built proof around you in every brick, every name on the payroll, every team member who says thank you and means it. And I realized then, I never needed a better family. I just needed a better foundation, and I built one, from the ground up. They used to call me quiet, passive, easy to overlook. But the truth is, there's nothing louder than a woman who no longer needs permission to take up space. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't have to fight fire with fire. You can build something stronger, something that doesn't burn. Respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you embody, quietly, daily, until no one can ignore it anymore. Have you ever had to choose between peace and being understood? Would you rather prove your worth, or live like it's already known? If this story spoke to you, even just one line, drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from, or tell me what you'd say if you were in my shoes. And hey, if you found a piece of yourself in this story, or just want to hear more voices that don't need to shout to be powerful, subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll never miss the next one.